was going to do this painting all by myself. You haven't seen me do any of it. I started a couple nights ago and left it at a unfinished, and not only unfinished point, but a troublesome point. It's easy to describe. Obviously, it's a sunset, pretty plain vanilla scene, sunset over the ocean. And I made the mistake of working without photographic reference for a while. That is, I started it with a photograph and then stopped looking at the photograph, got away from it. So let me show you, see if I can bring the picture up for you. Okay, we'll get the glare. Got it. So there's the photograph. There's my painting. And when I went to bed last night, this painting was a serious problem child. It was not working at all. In a word, it was real simple to describe. I had allowed all of my clouds to get far too intense, far too dark, and so on. So what I want to show you today is, what I want to talk about real briefly is, it's one way of color correcting. Okay? So I slept on this a whole bunch, painted it 5 times in my sleep last night, I think, and figured out what to do. So a little while ago, before I turned you guys on, before I brought you in, it was too intense. So I simply took a blue, purple, white, gray, opaque paint. Got it? A bluish, a dull bluish paint with white in it. So it's a gray, opaque-ish, and scumbled over the entire canvas to get, and then lifted out with a rag here and there to get essentially the value, the color that I want. You with me so far? So the sky is now, the whole thing is essentially the values, the color that I want. But it has, the whole thing has been scumbled. Do you know what I mean by that? Scumbling is when you take an opaque paint and rub it, scrubby. The sound it makes is scumble. Okay? So I've scumbled over the entire thing. It's the color I want, but it's not the texture I want. In my opinion, that scumbled texture is not a pleasant final coat. So what I've done then, and after I finished scumbling, is I've mixed up a batch of opaque paint, the color at the moment, the color of the dark side of the clouds. And I'm simply coming in here and going over the scumbling with what I call real painting, or with real brush strokes. Not being careful not to overblend anything, so that when people look at the finished painting, it will look like a painting, not like Scumblefest. They'll be able to see brush strokes. I think I'm just about done with all of the purple stuff. So again, it's very important. I know you can't even see what I'm putting on here. That's sort of part of that's on purpose. You shouldn't be able to see what I'm doing because it's exactly the same color that's already there. You follow this? I achieved the colors I want using scumbling because it's easy. It's easy to glaze over and scumble. If you want something dark, you get glaze. You glaze it. If you want something lighter, you scumble. Does that make sense? If you want something darker, you use transparent colors and do a glaze. If you want something lighter, like I did here, you use opaque colors and scumble. So it's got all the colors that I want in it. It just doesn't have the right texture. So the very last thing I'm doing then is coming back and, without doing a whole lot of blending, no brushy. You've heard me talk about that before. I hate brushy, and it's the default setting for all of us when we first start painting, because we don't know what the heck we're doing, so we just go, brushy. Okay? Not a pleasant stroke at all. Not a nice mark. Okay, so now I'm trying to mix up an opaque version of the blue that's already here. And again, you guys will barely be able to see this because the blue here is the color I want. It actually might be a tiny bit darker than I want. So I've mixed up a blue just a tiny bit lighter than what's here. The point here is not so much the color. I'm just matching color. The point is I am leaving brush marks. so that it doesn't look. Yeah, I think the scumbling thing, if you leave that as your final layer of texture, it looks overworked, it looks tired, it doesn't have energy, it's just worn out looking. You don't want your painting to look exhausted. You want your painting to look fresh, like it was applied with vigor and enthusiasm and so forth. And scumbling does not do that. Scumbling is I don't know, it's not a pleasant texture. You can have little tiny bits of it, but not vast. So all I'm doing here is, again, it's very easy, and this painting is so much better than it was 30 minutes ago, because first I achieved the color I wanted by scumbling, but scumbling is not a good final. I know I'm repeating myself, but scumbling is not a good final texture. So I'm just coming in here now with opaque paint and intentionally leaving brush strokes. Okay. So that's all. I think I'm going to do the same thing with the orange yellow too. It's the color I want right now. I just need to come in and do the same thing with the orange yellow. Now I don't know by the way, I don't know what color will be the last color that I apply to this sky. Normally it would be the yellow orange, but I've discovered that if you come back and do blue last, it has the same effect as tree holes. The blue is, in real life, the blue is the blue sky behind the clouds. So the clouds are close and the blue is far. But if you paint them the other way around, the way you do sky holes, you get that tricky little thing that our eye likes, of being fooled a little bit, being confused for a moment about what's on top of what's in front of what. We like that feeling, that little feeling of confusion. Again, counterintuitive, but trust me, we like it. Okay, that's all. Wanted to show you that. Hope that's informative and helpful. Thanks for watching.